You're seriously telling me that humans don't have a natural defense mechanism? Ambassador Zal Thrix of the Graxian. No venom sacs? No chitinous exoskeleton? Not even a rudimentary energy field? Nope, replied James Sullivan, taking a casual sip of his whiskey. The human diplomat adjusted his perfectly tailored suit, a habit he'd developed over his 3 years of representing Earth in increasingly bizarre interstellar negotiations. We're basically walking meatbags with a superiority complex. The Grand Galactic Council chamber hummed with the background noise of 200 different species, each representative fidgeting in their specially designed seating arrangements. Some floated in anti-gravity bubbles, others lounged in pools of nutrient-rich slime, and a few existed as pure energy constrained within quantum containers. Yet despite the profound physical differences between them all, they shared one common sentiment: confusion about humans. Ambassador Sullivan, or Sully as his friends called him, represented the newest addition to the interstellar community. Earth had stumbled onto the galactic stage less than a decade ago, when humans accidentally pierced the quantum veil while trying to create better wireless internet. Classic humanity. Fascinating, hissed Ambassador Catheel, a serpentine being whose transparent skin revealed a complex array of pulsating organs. Yet your species conquered your planet, developed advanced technology, and survived numerous extinction-level events without basic biological protections. This defies logical analysis. Sully shrugged, a uniquely human gesture that still puzzled most of the council. We're stubborn like that. High Counselor Omnis, a being composed of shimmering blue light, floated forward. The council session will commence momentarily. The 9th item on today's agenda concerns humanity's petition for trade route access through the Proxima sectors. That's my cue. Sully drained his glass and straightened his red tie. Wish me luck, folks. As Sullivan approached the central speaking platform, he couldn't help but notice the increased security presence. The galactic peacekeepers, towering reptilian creatures with ceremonial energy spears, lined the chamber walls in greater numbers than usual. His enhanced hearing, courtesy of a classified neural implant, picked up nervous whispers among the delegates. He also spotted several diplomats from the Taurian Concordat huddled together, their 4 eyes darting nervously in his direction. The Taurians had been particularly vocal about restricting human expansion, claiming humanity was unpredictable and evolutionarily unstable, rich coming from a species that reproduced through explosive spore clouds. Esteemed members of the Grand Galactic Council, Sullivan began, his voice amplified through the chamber's acoustic field. On behalf of Earth and its colonies, I thank you for considering our proposal. The Proxima trade routes would reduce our shipping times by 37%, allowing for more efficient distribution of cultural and material goods between our systems. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Additionally, he continued, this would provide the Council with increased access to uniquely human products, including our entertainment streams. I'm told the Real Housewives of New Mars has quite the following among the Arcturian delegation. The jellyfish-like Arcturians pulsed with embarrassment, their translucent bodies flashing various shades of purple. High Counselor Omnis dimmed slightly. Ambassador Sullivan, while the Council appreciates Earth's contributions to galactic culture, we must consider the strategic implications of allowing an unproven species access to such vital trade networks. Unproven? Sullivan raised an eyebrow. With all due respect, High Counselor, humanity has met every benchmark established by the Galactic Charter. Our technological development exceeds predicted models, our colonial expansion remains within agreed boundaries, and our diplomatic corps has established positive relations with 93% of Council races. Yet you remain fundamentally unchanged from your primitive state, interrupted Ambassador Vox of the Taurian Concordat, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. Your species still relies on crude biological functions. You lack basic defensive capabilities. You are, by definition, vulnerable. Sullivan smiled thinly. In his years of diplomatic service, he'd learned that this particular argument always emerged eventually. The galaxy seemed fixated on humanity's apparent biological deficiencies. Ambassador Vox, I'd argue that our supposed vulnerability has been our greatest strength. Without natural defenses, we developed technology. Without inherent weapons, we created art and culture. Without biological immortality, he nodded toward the silicon-based Eternity Collective, we learned to value each moment and each other. Pretty words from a species of soft-skinned prey, Vox snorted, his 4 nostrils flaring. The Concordat believes that granting access to the Proxima routes would be dangerous. Humans are unpredictable, unstable, and frankly, a high-pitched whine suddenly cut through the chamber, causing several delegates to recoil in pain. Sullivan's trained ear recognized it immediately. The charging sequence of a modified Taurian plasma weapon. 3 things happened in the next second and a half. First, the security field around the speaking platform collapsed with a faint hiss. Second, 4 hooded figures materialized from stealth fields at equidistant points around the chamber, each aiming weapons directly at Sullivan. Third, and this surprised everyone, James Sullivan smiled. "Well," he said calmly as the first plasma bolt sizzled toward him, "this negotiation just got interesting." As the plasma bolt scorched through the air toward his chest, time seemed to slow for Sullivan. Years of combat training kicked in, overlaid with the crystal clarity that had saved his life countless times before. Sullivan's hand moved to his tie pin, a simple red gemstone that complemented his tie. With a quick twist, he activated the personal shield technology Earth had reverse-engineered from Arcturian designs, but kept strictly classified. The plasma blast hit the invisible barrier and dispersed harmlessly in a shower of sparks. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates scrambled for exits, security alarms blared, and the would-be assassins, clearly shocked that their target remained standing, prepared to fire again. "Situation Omega," Sullivan spoke calmly into his wrist communicator. "Council chamber, 4 hostiles. Engage Protocol 7. From his jacket pocket, he withdrew what appeared to be a simple stylus. With a flick of his wrist, it extended into a meter-long carbon fiber staff, another piece of classified human technology that the galactic community didn't know about. The first assassin recovered from their surprise and fired again. Sullivan dodged this time, the movement so fluid it seemed almost choreographed. He closed the distance in 3 strides and struck with the staff. The impact delivered a targeted electromagnetic pulse that shorted out the assassin's stealth field generator and weapons systems simultaneously. "You know," Sullivan remarked conversationally as he parried another plasma bolt with his shield, "if you wanted to register a formal complaint about my proposal, there are proper channels." "Death to human expansion!" shouted one of the hooded figures, confirming Sullivan's suspicions. The voice was distinctly Taurian. Sullivan tapped a hidden control on his belt buckle, and his perfectly tailored suit suddenly stiffened. The molecular structure rearranged into lightweight armor that could stop most conventional weapons, another classified human innovation. "Really wish we could have done this the civilized way," Sullivan sighed as he disabled a second assassin with a precise strike. "The paperwork for this is going to be hell." The remaining 2 attackers split up, trying to flank him. Sullivan felt rather than heard the assassin at his back. He dropped to one knee, allowing the plasma bolt from the front to sail over his head, and nearly hit the assassin behind him. The near miss caused the rear attacker to stumble, giving Sullivan the opening he needed. The final assassin, seeing their companions defeated, pulled out a small, pulsing device that Sullivan recognized as a miniaturized gravity bomb, illegal in all civilized systems and capable of crushing everything within a 10-meter radius. "That's a bit excessive, don't you think?" Sullivan called out, calculating angles. "Killing hundreds of delegates just to stop a trade route proposal?" "The humans must be contained," the assassin hissed. "Your kind spreads like a virus." "We call that adaptation," Sullivan replied, inching closer. "You might want to try it sometime." His wrist communicator beeped once, the signal he'd been waiting for. The chamber's dome ceiling suddenly shattered as 4 figures in sleek black exosuits crashed through, descending on suspension cables. The human diplomatic security service had arrived. The distraction was all Sullivan needed. He hurled his staff with precision, striking the assassin's hand and sending the gravity bomb flying into a containment field that his security team had projected. Within seconds, all 4 attackers were secured. Sullivan straightened his tie and deactivated his protective measures, the suit returning to its normal appearance. "Well," Sullivan announced loudly enough to be heard over the din, "I believe we were discussing trade routes?" The emergency session of the Security Committee convened 3 hours later. Representatives from 12 major power blocks sat around a circular table, with High Counselor Omnis presiding. Sullivan sat calmly, a fresh glass of whiskey in hand. "This is unprecedented," rumbled Ambassador Gorks of the Silicon Confederacy, his crystalline body reflecting agitated light patterns. "An assassination attempt during a formal council session violates our most sacred conventions." "What I find more concerning," interjected Cathiel, "is the level of technology Ambassador Sullivan displayed. Technology that Earth has not registered with the Council's Technology Exchange Commission." All eyes turned to Sullivan, who took a deliberate sip before responding. "With respect, Ambassador Cathiel, Earth has shared 92% of its technological developments with the Council. exceeding the 80% requirement. The items I employed today fall under the Diplomatic Security Exemption, Section 47B. Convenient interpretation, hissed Ambassador Vox. My government categorically denies any involvement in this incident. These individuals were clearly radicals acting alone. Sullivan's neural implant analyzed Vox's biometrics. The readings were interesting. Of course, Sullivan replied smoothly. Earth would never accuse a respected council member without irrefutable evidence. That said, we are conducting our own investigation. High Counselor Omnis pulsed with serious blue light. Ambassador Sullivan, your security team breached council chambers without authorization, causing significant structural damage, for which Earth will provide full compensation. Sullivan nodded. However, given that the council's security protocols were compromised, my team acted under Emergency Response Provision 12. The chamber fell silent. Sullivan had just politely pointed out that the council's security had failed catastrophically. There is still the matter of your unexpected capabilities, said Zalthrix. Many of us find it disconcerting that a species presenting itself as physically vulnerable could so easily neutralize four armed attackers. Sullivan smiled. Ambassador, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. I never claimed humans were defenseless, merely that we lack natural biological weapons. The distinction is important. Explain, demanded Omnis. Sullivan leaned forward. Humanity evolved on a planet where we were rarely the strongest, fastest, or most naturally armed species. We couldn't fly, breathe underwater, resist extreme temperatures, or inject venom. By your standards, we were vulnerable. He paused, making eye contact with each representative. But that vulnerability drove us to become something much more dangerous. Adaptable. We studied every predator that hunted us and learned their techniques. We observed every prey we hunted and adopted their evasion tactics. Unable to grow claws, we forged steel. Unable to generate fire, we harnessed combustion. You became technological mimics, Cathiel observed. We became students of everything around us, Sullivan corrected. Including now the species we meet among the stars. Every technology demonstrated to us, we study. Every biological advantage we encounter, we learn from. So the human diplomatic corps are all trained like you? Asked Gorks nervously. Sullivan laughed. Goodness no, I'm somewhat of a special case. Before becoming a diplomat, I served in Earth's special forces. My particular skill set made me well suited for challenging diplomatic postings. You're a soldier in diplomat's clothing, accused Vox. I'm a diplomat who can handle himself in difficult situations, Sullivan countered. Just as many of your representatives have natural defenses they could employ if threatened. The difference is, I had to learn mine. The implication hung in the air. Sullivan hadn't made any threats, but every being in the room suddenly understood something fundamental about humans. They appeared unassuming until they weren't. I propose, Sullivan continued, that we return to the original matter, Earth's petition for trade route access. In light of today's events, perhaps the Council might reconsider its position on human reliability. High Counselor Omnis pulsed in what might have been resignation. The Security Committee will make its recommendations to the full Council. I suspect, Ambassador Sullivan, that your proposal will receive more favorable consideration than previously anticipated. Excellent, Sullivan said, finishing his whiskey. After all, wouldn't you rather have humanity as a trading partner than, well, anything else? No one in the chamber missed his meaning. Later that evening, aboard the human diplomatic vessel Diplomatic Accord, Sullivan met with an unexpected visitor. The request had come through channels that shouldn't have existed. Emergency diplomatic frequencies that only Council security should have accessed. In the ship's most secure meeting room, a hooded figure appeared via quantum-encrypted transmission. The voice that emerged was artificially modulated, revealing nothing about the speaker's identity. Ambassador Sullivan, your reputation grows by the hour. Grave Curzon, Sullivan replied, recognizing the infamous information broker. Or should I say Graves Curzon? I've never been clear on whether you're an individual or a collective. A sound that might have been laughter emerged. Definitions can be so limiting. What can I do for you, Curzon? Direct, as humans often are. Very well. The figure leaned forward. Yesterday's events have created ripples throughout the galactic community. I thought you might appreciate some contextual information that won't appear in official reports. I'm listening. The assassination attempt was not merely about trade routes, Ambassador. It was a test. One orchestrated by parties who wished to evaluate human capabilities under controlled conditions. Sullivan kept his expression neutral. You're suggesting the attack was engineered? The security fields that failed were selectively deactivated. The assassins were expected to fail. They were chosen for their expendability. Their Taurian origins provided convenient political cover. Why tell me this? I operate best in environments of balanced information. The current situation is becoming unbalanced. Curzon paused. There exists an unofficial coalition within the Council, 7 elder species who call themselves the Preservation Council. They believe younger races should develop along guided paths. Sullivan leaned forward. And humanity's rapid adaptation concerns them. Precisely. They've been manipulating events for centuries, ensuring no species advances too quickly. Yesterday was meant to determine whether their concerns about humanity are justified. And their conclusion? That's where matters become interesting. Your performance exceeded their predictive models. Some advocate for aggressive containment measures. Others suggest accelerated integration might be safer. Sullivan processed this carefully. What do you require in exchange for this information? Knowledge of comparable value, Curzon replied. The true nature of Project Harbinger. Sullivan kept his face neutral despite internal alarm. The Harbinger was Earth's most classified project, a vessel incorporating every alien technology they'd studied, combined with humanity's unique innovations. I'm afraid I don't know what you're referring to, Sullivan said smoothly. Please, Ambassador. Your neural implant's biorhythms just spiked. We both know Harbinger is a ship with displacement capabilities far beyond anything officially acknowledged. Sullivan made a quick decision. Hypothetically, any advanced vessel would naturally incorporate our understanding of physics. If such understanding exceeded current standards, that would reflect humanity's unique approach to scientific advancement. Not a confirmation, yet not a denial. Artfully done. Curzon seemed pleased. The displacement drive represents a fundamental shift in strategic balance. If successfully deployed, it would alter the power structure throughout known space. Earth has no interest in destabilizing the galactic community, Sullivan replied carefully. Of course. Just as the first tribes to master iron sought only security, not dominance over their bronze-wielding neighbors. What would you advise? Balance, Ambassador. Reveal enough to deter intervention, but not so much as to provoke preemptive action. The Preservation Council believes they have perhaps 5 years before human advancement reaches a critical threshold. They are considering options. The warning was clear. Any specific recommendations? The Council will now move more quickly than planned. I suggest you do the same. The transmission ended, leaving Sullivan with troubling intelligence and crucial decisions to make. 3 weeks later, Sullivan stood before the Grand Council chamber once more, this time accompanied by Dr. Eliza Okafor, Earth's leading expert on medical nanotechnology. The chamber buzzed with anticipation. Word had spread that Earth was preparing an unprecedented announcement. Esteemed representatives, Sullivan began, I stand before you today to address a challenge affecting multiple species, the genetic degradation crisis facing the Arcturian colonies in the Deneb sector. Ambassador Zilvax of the Arcturian Collective rippled with distress colors. The radiation exposure had created cascading genetic damage threatening the very survival of several colonies. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, activating a holographic display showing microscopic machines moving through cellular structures. Earth has developed adaptive nanites, the Lazarus Protocol, capable of recognizing and repairing genetic damage at the fundamental level. The display showed simulated nanites interacting with Arcturian genetic material, methodically repairing damaged sequences. We've run over 10,000 simulations. The success rate exceeds 97%. The chamber erupted in astonishment. The Arcturians had been searching for a solution for 15 years. Earth is prepared to provide this technology immediately, Sullivan announced, without compensation or political concession. Another wave of surprise swept the chamber. In galactic politics, breakthrough technologies were typically leveraged for maximum advantage. Ambassador Vox leaned forward suspiciously. These nanites manipulate genetic material. They could theoretically be weaponized. Dr. Okafor met his gaze steadily. Like most advanced technologies, they could be misused if safeguards were circumvented. The same could be said for Taurian gravitational manipulation technology, could it not? Vox retreated at the pointed counterexample. Sullivan stepped forward again. Earth will comply fully with Council regulations, including providing safeguard documentation. What we propose is not merely a solution to a specific crisis, but a new model of technological cooperation. He gestured expansively. Humanity's greatest strength has been our adaptability, our ability to see problems from new angles. The universe presents challenges no single species can address alone. Earth offers these perspectives not to disrupt the established order, but to enhance it. It was masterful diplomacy. Without mentioning military capabilities, Sullivan had demonstrated sophisticated nanotechnology while positioning Earth as a benevolent innovator. The implicit message was equally clear. A civilization capable of such advanced biotechnology possessed other capabilities as well. High Counselor Omnis floated forward. The Council acknowledges Earth's generous offer. A formal review will begin immediately. As the session continued, Sullivan observed the elder species representatives. Their subtle communications suggested concern and rapid reassessment. Good. Let them recalculate. Let them wonder what other technologies Earth might possess. When the session concluded, Ambassador Cathiel approached. Internal organs showing excitement or anxiety. The nanite technology, it incorporates quantum entanglement at the molecular level, doesn't it? Sullivan smiled pleasantly. You have a good eye for technical details. Yes, quantum entanglement is one of several principles incorporated. The research exchange we discussed, perhaps we could expedite arrangements? The Dominion is most eager to begin collaboration. Of course. Equal access for equal access, as we agreed. As Cathiel departed, Sullivan made a mental note to scan for any data extraction attempts. The diplomatic landscape was shifting rapidly, and everyone was scrambling to understand humanity's true capabilities. You revealed knowledge of their classified quantum project? Director Vasquez's holographic image showed rare agitation. Sullivan stood in his secure communications room, having just briefed her on his conversation with the Vesperian diplomat. It was necessary to level the playing field, Sullivan replied. They were testing us, attempting to establish information advantage. The revelation forces them to re-evaluate our intelligence capabilities. The strategy board will have questions about exceeding operational discretion. My mandate includes tactical disclosures to maintain diplomatic parity. After the assassination attempt, allowing the Vesperians to believe they held advantage would have undermined our position. Vasquez considered this. The Vesperian quantum technology. How close are we to replicating it? Dr. Okafor's team has achieved 70% functionality. With their research exchange, we could accelerate significantly. And you believe they'll still pursue the exchange after your revelation? Sullivan nodded confidently. They'll be more motivated than ever. The Vesperians value knowledge above all else. Knowing we've uncovered their secrets will drive them to learn about us, to restore information balance. What do we gain? Their biocompatible quantum interface technology could advance our neural implant program by decades. More importantly, it gives us legitimate access to their scientific community and intelligence opportunities. Vasquez's expression remained stern but showed hints of approval. I'll inform the strategy board that the disclosure was tactically necessary, but in future consult before revealing classified intelligence. Understood, Director. As the communication ended, Sullivan reviewed the rapidly shifting diplomatic landscape. 4 major power blocks had initiated contact following the Council session, each probing for information about Earth's capabilities. The galactic community was recalculating humanity's place in the cosmic order. The only surprise was the timing. Earth's strategic planners had expected this moment would come, but the assassination attempt had accelerated everything. His intercom chimed. Commander Rivera to secure communications. Priority Alpha. Go ahead, Commander. Sir, we've detected unusual energy signatures near the Taurian vessel. Patterns match theoretical models for long-range quantum scanning. They're scanning our ship? Attempting to, though they're trying to mask it. Our countermeasures are active. Sullivan frowned. The Taurians were publicly extending olive branches while secretly probing Earth's defenses. Maintain countermeasures, but don't acknowledge the scanning. Let's see how persistent they are. There's one more thing. We've received intelligence from our assets in the Tau Ceti system. The Preservation Council that Curzon mentioned, they've convened an emergency session. Sullivan's expression hardened. Timeline? Unknown, but accelerated movement suggests implementation within days rather than weeks. The game was accelerating faster than anyone had anticipated. Alert Earth Central. Implementation of protocol threshold may be necessary. Sir, that's a significant escalation. We're rapidly approaching circumstances that warrant it, Commander. If the Preservation Council has authorized direct intervention, conventional responses won't suffice. Protocol Threshold was Earth's most aggressive contingency plan, a strategic demonstration of capabilities designed to introduce sufficient uncertainty into potential aggressors' calculations that direct action would seem unacceptably risky. Prepare preliminary implementation, Sullivan ordered. Full activation requires strategy board approval, but given the timeline, I anticipate expedited processing. As Rivera departed to execute his orders, Sullivan moved to his viewport, gazing at the glittering council world below. So much progress had been made, alliances formed, technologies shared, bridges built between humanity and the galactic community. Now it might all be jeopardized by the conservative fear of change that seemed universal among species that had achieved stability. Sullivan straightened his tie, a gesture that had become ritualistic in moments of decision. The diplomat he had been might have sought additional channels or compromise solutions. But the galaxy changed everyone it touched, humans perhaps most of all. He had adapted to the realities of interstellar politics, where power and perception often mattered more than principles. Sometimes the only way to preserve peace was to demonstrate the capacity for something else entirely. The emergency session of the Grand Council convened amid unprecedented security measures. Armed peacekeepers lined the chamber walls, quantum dampening fields limited communications, and representatives underwent multiple security scans. Something had the Council authorities deeply concerned. Sullivan sat calmly at Earth's position, outwardly composed despite the tension radiating throughout the chamber. Beside him sat Commander Rivera, her presence in this diplomatic setting itself a message. High Counselor Omnis floated at the center, their form dimmed to Sirius blue. This emergency session addresses unauthorized technology activation within Council space. Representatives of the Silicon Confederacy will present relevant information. Ambassador Gorks moved to the central platform, crystalline form vibrating with intensity. 17 hours ago, our monitoring stations detected a quantum disturbance of unprecedented scale originating from Earth's diplomatic vessel. He projected energy readings that caused scientifically knowledgeable delegates to shift with concern. These readings are consistent with large-scale displacement drive technology, potentially sufficient to transport an entire vessel. This contradicts Ambassador Sullivan's representation that such technology existed only in prototype form. Gorks faced Sullivan directly. Furthermore, quantum resonance patterns suggest the entanglement target was within Earth's home system. This raises serious security concerns about unauthorized strategic technology deployment. The chamber erupted in exclamations. Sullivan remained impassive, waiting. Ambassador Sullivan, Omnis pulsed with formal authority. The Council awaits Earth's explanation. Sullivan rose and approached the platform with measured confidence. High Counselor, Earth acknowledges the quantum activity detected. However, we reject the characterization as unauthorized or in violation of Council protocols. He activated his own display showing relevant charter sections. Section 217 permits member species to conduct technology testing within diplomatic vessels, provided no hazardous conditions are created. The quantum field was fully contained and posed no risk. The scale suggests preparation for full vessel displacement, Gorks countered. A capability you claimed was theoretical. Sullivan smiled slightly. I believe my exact words were that we were sharing a prototype. I made no specific claims about our full implementation's development stage. Earth demonstrated an earlier version suitable for Council chambers while continuing refinement of advanced applications. The subtle distinction wasn't lost on the diplomats present. Sullivan hadn't technically lied, merely allowed assumptions that now proved incorrect. As for the entanglement coordinates, Sullivan continued smoothly. Earth was conducting communication tests with our home system using enhanced quantum network technology. The energy signatures were byproducts of that process, not preparation for unauthorized transport. It was plausible and difficult to disprove without detailed scans that Council protocols didn't permit. Ambassador Vox leaned forward. If this was mere communication testing, why wasn't Council authority notified? The test was conducted on an accelerated timeline following concerning intelligence about potential hostile action against Earth interests. Sullivan replied strategically. The brilliance of this response became immediately apparent. Without directly accusing the Preservation Council, Sullivan had shifted conversation from Earth's activities to suspicious behavior by certain Council species. Earth has no desire for confrontation, Sullivan continued, making eye contact with suspected Preservation Council representatives. We've demonstrated our commitment through multiple technology sharing initiatives. However, we maintain the right to ensure our security through appropriate preparedness. He paused meaningfully. Earth values our Council membership and seeks peaceful relations with all species. We hope recent events reflect misunderstanding rather than fundamental diplomatic shifts. The subtext was clear to everyone present. Earth knew about the Preservation Council's deliberations and had demonstrated previously unrevealed capabilities in response. High Counselor Omnis pulsed diplomatically. The Council acknowledges Earth's explanation while noting concerns about technology deployment without notification. This matter will be referred to the Technology Oversight Committee. Omnis turned toward the broader assembly. This incident highlights the need for enhanced transparency among Council species. The executive has authorized me to address certain rumors that may have contributed to recent tensions. Sullivan maintained diplomatic composure but was internally alert. If Omnis was about to acknowledge the Preservation Council, suggestions have circulated regarding an unofficial coalition of elder species allegedly coordinating policy toward emerging civilizations. The executive clarifies that while informal consultation among species with shared interests is permitted, any group operating with regulatory intent outside established mechanisms would violate founding principles. It was as close to official acknowledgement as possible, a public warning that the Preservation Council's activities had been noticed, and that continued operation might face formal censure. One by one, representatives of suspected Preservation Council members made careful statements neither confirming nor denying the group's existence, while distancing themselves from inappropriate coordination. Sullivan observed this diplomatic dance with interest. The elder species were retreating, at least temporarily, from whatever intervention they'd planned. Protocol Threshold had achieved its intended effect, demonstrating capabilities that introduced sufficient uncertainty to make aggressive action seem unacceptably risky. When formal proceedings concluded, Sullivan found himself approached by High Counselor Omnis in a private antechamber. Today's events have raised profound questions about Earth's integration trajectory. The light being pulsed softly. The Council seeks to understand humanity's true intentions. Sullivan met the luminous gaze directly. Earth's intentions remain unchanged, High Counselor. To join the galactic community as a constructive partner, sharing our perspectives while learning from species with greater experience. Yet you concealed your displacement drive's full development. We revealed what was appropriate at each integration stage, Sullivan replied carefully. Earth understands that technological advancement can be perceived as threatening when not properly contextualized. We chose gradual demonstration, accompanied by offers to share for common benefit. Omnis pulsed thoughtfully. The quantum activity was a warning, wasn't it? A capability demonstration in response to perceived threats. Sullivan considered his response. It was a communication, ensuring all parties had accurate information about our capabilities when we detected unusual security movements following our technology demonstrations. Including displacement capacity for entire vessels? Including whatever capabilities Earth deems necessary for our security and prosperity, Sullivan replied firmly but diplomatically. Omnis's illumination shifted through several spectral patterns, deep consideration. I will convey your position to interested parties. In the meantime, I would advise that Earth refrain from further unannounced technology demonstrations. Recent tensions have created volatility. Understood, High Counselor. Earth desires no escalation. As Omnis departed, Sullivan reflected on the conversation. The immediate threat of Preservation Council intervention had been deterred, but the underlying tensions remained. The elder species would seek other approaches, more diplomatic, less confrontational. They had merely moved to the next phase of a much longer game. Chapter 8. Integration. One standard month later, Sullivan stood in the observation lounge of the Diplomatic Accord, watching Earth's first officially acknowledged diplomatic fleet arrive in Council space. 5 vessels in total, not overwhelming by galactic standards, but each incorporating technologies carefully selected for their strategic implications. The flagship, Adaptation, featured the fully integrated displacement drive. The innovation carried Earth's most advanced sensor array. The Resilience demonstrated defensive technologies reverse-engineered from Arcturian designs. The collaboration served as a mobile research platform for continuing scientific exchanges. And the Discovery utilized a gravitational manipulation drive that allowed unprecedented maneuverability. Together, they represented a calculated statement. Humanity had arrived as a full participant in galactic affairs, bringing capabilities that couldn't be dismissed or contained. Director Vasquez stood beside him, her rare presence in Council space underscoring the moment's importance. The Strategy Board is pleased with Protocol Threshold's implementation. Initial analysis suggests we've achieved the desired effect without triggering security escalation. Sullivan nodded. The Preservation Council has shifted to diplomatic approaches, as hoped. 3 elder species have proposed formal technology exchange agreements in the past week, transparent attempts to gain insight through official channels rather than espionage. And our mysterious information broker? Nothing direct from Curzon, but trading patterns suggest adjustment to the new reality. Several commodities linked to quantum technology development have seen significant price increases. Vasquez smiled thinly. Markets responding to uncertainty. Always reliable indicators. They watched as the diplomatic fleet took formation around the council station, a presence that couldn't be ignored but wasn't overtly threatening. The choreography had been meticulously planned to convey strength without aggression. The Arcturian colonies are showing remarkable recovery, Sullivan observed. Preliminary data suggests genetic degradation has been fully halted in 93% of affected individuals, with reversal signs in over 60%. Good, Vasquez nodded. These successes reinforce our narrative, that humanity advances not to dominate, but to contribute. The display of capability represented by the fleet was balanced by demonstrated benefits of human innovation. The implicit message, we can be valuable allies or formidable adversaries depending on how you choose to engage. The strategy board has approved the next integration phase, Vasquez continued. With immediate Preservation Council intervention neutralized, we can proceed with establishing permanent human presence throughout Council space. Research outposts, cultural exchanges, trading hubs. And the Harbinger? Sullivan asked quietly. Remains classified and under accelerated development. The displacement drive demonstration has deterred direct action for now, but the Preservation Council will adapt their strategies. We need credible deterrent capability. Sullivan nodded, understanding the logic while harboring reservations about continued militarization. As a diplomat, he believed in finding common ground. Yet his experiences had taught him that trust in interstellar relations required foundations of mutual respect and recognized capability. The High Council has requested your presence for a special session tomorrow, Vasquez noted. Likely they'll formally acknowledge Earth's enhanced status, moving us from provisional to full membership with expanded voting rights. Strategic concession that costs them little while bringing us into systems where our actions can be monitored and influenced. And my recommendation? Gracious acceptance with appropriate expressions of commitment to Council principles. We've demonstrated capability for independent action. Now we should demonstrate willingness to work within collective frameworks when they serve mutual interests. Controlled integration, Sullivan summarized. Precisely. You've changed, James. The diplomat I sent to Council space 3 years ago would have pushed for more concessions, more guarantees. Sullivan smiled faintly. The galaxy changes us all, Director. I've learned that in galactic diplomacy, relationships evolve over decades or centuries. We've established our position more rapidly than any species in recent history. Now we need to demonstrate that we can maintain it while being constructive partners. A signal chimed, indicating an incoming transmission from Earth Central. Before responding, Sullivan took a moment to appreciate the view. Earth vessels positioned confidently amid the diverse ships of the galactic community, a visual representation of humanity's new place among the stars. They had come so far in such a short time, from accidental discoverers of the quantum veil to innovators whose technologies were reshaping interstellar possibilities. From newcomers regarded with condescension to rising powers whose capabilities commanded respect and, yes, concern. The path forward would not be simple. The elder species would continue watching human advancement with wary attention. The Preservation Council might have retreated from direct intervention, but they would seek other means to influence Earth's development trajectory. Yet Sullivan felt profound optimism about the future. Humans had always been at their best when facing complex challenges, adapting, innovating, finding unexpected solutions where others saw only problems. Their apparent vulnerability had driven them to become something much more formidable. A species that learned from everything around them, incorporating the best aspects of each experience into their ongoing evolution. In a galaxy of specialized species with powerful but narrowly focused capabilities, humanity's adaptability might prove to be the most powerful trait of all. Not because it made them stronger or faster in any specific area, but because it allowed them to become whatever they needed to be to survive and thrive. The supposedly vulnerable species had demonstrated they were anything but, and the galaxy would never be quite the same again. 3 months later, Ambassador James Sullivan stood alone in the center of the Grand Council chamber, the full assembly of 200 species arrayed around him in concentric rings. The formal ceremony of elevation was an ancient tradition dating back millennia, Few humans had ever witnessed it, and none had been its focus until this moment. High Counselor Omnis floated before him, their luminous form glowing with ceremonial brilliance. James Sullivan, representative of Earth, you stand before the assembled council to receive formal recognition of your species' elevation within our shared community. Do you accept this recognition with full understanding of the rights and responsibilities it entails? I do, High Counselor, Sullivan replied, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed chamber. Earth accepts this recognition with gratitude and commitment to the principles that unite our diverse civilizations. The Council acknowledges humanity's contributions to galactic welfare, Omnis continued, through shared medical technologies that have preserved life, environmental innovations that have restored worlds, and communication advances that have connected the distant reaches of known space. The light being's illumination shifted to a more solemn hue. The Council also acknowledges humanity's demonstrated capabilities in quantum manipulation, displacement physics, and adaptive technologies that have expanded our collective understanding of what is possible. It was carefully worded, recognizing both Earth's benevolent contributions and its more strategically significant capabilities. By unanimous decision of the Executive Council and majority approval of the General Assembly, Earth is hereby elevated to full member status with all attendant rights, privileges, and responsibilities. Humanity is welcomed as an equal partner in our shared journey among the stars. A chime sounded, the ancient tone that had marked significant moments in Council history for thousands of years. Sullivan felt the weight of the moment, the culmination of Earth's carefully executed integration strategy. As is tradition, Omnis continued, the newly elevated member may address the assembled council with a statement of intent regarding their place in our community. Sullivan took a moment to look around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from various species. The Graxians, whose homeworld was being restored by human technology. The Arcturians, whose genetic crisis was being resolved through Earth's nanites. The Vesperians, whose scientific exchange with humanity had produced promising new theories. He also noted the representatives of the elder species who formed the Preservation Council. Still watching, still wary, but now engaging through diplomatic channels rather than clandestine manipulation. Esteemed members of the galactic community, Sullivan began, Earth receives this recognition with profound appreciation and solemn responsibility. Our journey to this moment has been brief by the standards of many species present. A mere decade since we first discovered the quantum veil that had hidden the broader cosmos from our awareness. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Humanity comes to the galactic community with unique perspectives shaped by our evolutionary history. Without natural defenses or specialized biological advantages, we developed adaptability as our defining trait. Without inherent weapons, we learned to transform our environment rather than merely exist within it. Without biological immortality, we developed a drive to create lasting impact through our brief lives. Sullivan gestured to the assembly around him. Sullivan, these traits have sometimes been viewed with concern. Our rate of adaptation seen as potentially disruptive. Our technological innovation perceived as possibly destabilizing. Earth acknowledges these concerns while asking for understanding of our fundamental nature. What we propose is complementary cooperation, the marriage of innovation with wisdom, of adaptation with tradition, of new perspectives with established knowledge. Earth does not seek to disrupt the galactic order, but to enhance it through mutual exchange and respectful collaboration. He straightened, his expression solemn yet hopeful. As full members of this ancient and honored council, humans commit ourselves to responsible partnership. We will continue sharing our technological innovations for the common good. We will respect the established protocols that maintain peace among diverse civilizations. We will bring our unique problem-solving approaches to the challenges that face us all. Sullivan's voice took on a more personal tone. I have learned much during my time among you, about the profound wisdom that comes from species who measure their histories in millennia, about the remarkable specializations that allow each civilization to contribute unique value, about the delicate balances that maintain peace across such diversity. Earth hopes that the galactic community has also learned something from our brief but eventful presence. That adaptation need not threaten stability. That innovation can strengthen tradition rather than undermining it. That differences in perspective can reveal new possibilities rather than creating conflict. He concluded with the traditional closing. Together among the stars, diverse yet united, we journey forward into the infinite possibilities that await us all. As the ceremonial chimes sounded, Sullivan felt a sense of completion, not of Earth's journey within the galactic community, which was just beginning, but of this particular chapter. The initial integration phase had concluded successfully. Humanity had established its place among the stars not as mere newcomers to be guided or contained, but as full partners bringing unique value to the cosmic table. The path forward would hold new challenges, new discoveries, new possibilities for both cooperation and conflict. But Earth had demonstrated its capacity to adapt to whatever circumstances arose, to learn from every experience, to incorporate every lesson into ongoing evolution. As the ceremony concluded and representatives from various species approached to offer formal congratulations, Sullivan caught sight of Commander Rivera at the chamber's edge, a rare smile on her normally serious face. They had accomplished what many believed impossible: successful integration of humanity into the galactic community on terms that respected both Earth's unique nature and the established cosmic order. 6 months after his elevation ceremony, Sullivan stood in his private office aboard the new Earth Embassy station orbiting the Council homeworld. Through the massive viewport, he could see the constant traffic of interstellar commerce. Vessels from hundreds of worlds carrying goods, ideas, and cultural exchanges that were reshaping the galaxy in subtle but profound ways. His desk display showed the latest reports from Earth's expanding presence throughout Council space. The atmospheric reclamation project on Graxia 3 was ahead of schedule, with preliminary resettlement beginning within the year. The Arcturian genetic therapy had achieved complete success, with the collective now serving as humanity's strongest advocates in Council proceedings. Research partnerships with 17 species had produced breakthrough advances in everything from quantum computing to biological engineering. Most significantly, the quantum communication network had transformed emergency response capabilities across the galaxy. What had once been days-long delays in coordinating aid during natural disasters was now instantaneous. The network had already saved an estimated 47,000 lives in its first 6 months of operation. "Ambassador," Rivera's voice came through his secure communicator. "We've received the quarterly intelligence summary from Earth Central. The Preservation Council has been quiet." Sullivan smiled at the carefully neutral phrasing. Quiet in intelligence terms meant they'd shifted from active intervention planning to long-term strategic assessment. The combination of humanity's demonstrated capabilities and beneficial contributions had forced a fundamental recalculation. "Any specific developments?" he asked. 3 of the 7 member species have formally withdrawn from coordinated activities. The Silicon Confederacy is apparently pursuing independent diplomatic engagement with Earth. The Vesperians want to expand our research partnership to include their most advanced quantum consciousness studies. Sullivan nodded thoughtfully. The Preservation Council was fragmenting, which was both encouraging and potentially dangerous. Species acting independently were harder to predict, and might take risks that a coordinated group would avoid. And the Harbinger? Completed final trials last week. Earth Command reports all systems operating within optimal parameters. The vessel is ready for deployment if circumstances require it. Sullivan hoped they never would. The Harbinger represented humanity's insurance policy. A ship that incorporated every technological advance they'd developed or adapted, designed not for conquest, but for ensuring that Earth could never be dismissed or contained by force. Its existence was known to certain parties in the galactic intelligence community, which served the deterrent purpose perfectly. "There's one more thing, sir," Rivera continued. "We've received another communication from Curzon. They're requesting a meeting to discuss what they call emerging market dynamics in the consciousness technology sector." Sullivan raised an eyebrow. Consciousness technology was one of the most restricted research areas in the galaxy, the kind of development that could fundamentally alter the nature of sentient existence itself. If Curzon was tracking movement in that market. "Schedule it for next week. Standard precautions, but I want to hear what they have to say." As he ended the communication, Sullivan reflected on humanity's remarkable journey from accidental discovery of galactic civilization to full partnership in its governance. They had proven that apparent weakness could be transformed into strength, that adaptation was indeed the most powerful evolutionary strategy. But perhaps most importantly, they had demonstrated that a young species could enter the galactic community without either submitting to existing hierarchies or destroying them. Instead, they had found a third path, transforming the community itself through the simple act of bringing something genuinely new to the cosmic conversation. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and challenges that humanity had barely begun to explore. There would be new crises to solve, new technologies to develop, new relationships to build among the stars. Some species would welcome human partnership, others would remain wary or hostile. But Earth had established its place at the galactic table, not as junior partners to be guided by elder species, not as disruptors to be contained, but as equals bringing unique perspectives to the ancient project of civilization among the stars. Sullivan straightened his red tie, now a recognized symbol throughout Council space of human diplomatic presence, and turned his attention to the day's agenda. There were 17 diplomatic meetings scheduled, including preliminary discussions about establishing human cultural centers on 12 different worlds. The work of integration continued, one relationship at a time, one breakthrough at a time, one small step toward a galaxy where differences in biology, culture, and evolutionary history served not as barriers, but as the foundation for something greater than any single species could achieve alone. After all, as Sullivan had learned over his years among the stars, the apparently vulnerable species had revealed themselves to be anything but. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the greatest strength came not from what you were born with, but from what you chose to become. And humanity was still becoming. 18 months after the historic elevation ceremony, Ambassador James Sullivan found himself aboard the UES Prometheus, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel designed for extragalactic reconnaissance. The ship represented the fruits of the technological partnerships forged during Earth's integration, a fusion of human adaptive engineering, Vesperian quantum processors, and Arcturian biotechnology that would have been impossible just years earlier. "Anything interesting out there, Captain?" Sullivan asked Captain Sarah Chen, who had transitioned from Earth's diplomatic security service to lead the newly formed Galactic Exploration Corps. "Several promising energy signatures, Ambassador," Chen replied, manipulating holographic displays that showed data from sensors spanning multiple dimensional frequencies. 3 potential civilizations in nearby galaxy clusters, though we're looking at signals that are millions of years old. Sullivan nodded thoughtfully. Earth's rapid advancement had not only been accepted by the galactic community, but actively encouraged. The former Preservation Council species, now fully integrated into cooperative frameworks, saw humanity's adaptability as ideal for exploring the unknown regions beyond traditional boundaries. "Sir," interrupted Lieutenant Torres from Communications. "Priority transmission from Council Central. Director Vasquez marked urgent." Sullivan moved to the secure chamber, wondering what crisis had emerged. The holographic image that appeared showed Vasquez looking more troubled than he'd seen since the early integration conflicts. "James, we have a situation. Our deep space monitoring network has detected something unprecedented. A massive quantum disturbance originating from outside the galaxy. Initial analysis suggests artificial origin." Sullivan felt familiar apprehension. "Scale and source?" "Energy output equivalent to our entire displacement drive fleet operating simultaneously. Whatever created it exceeds anything in our combined technological databases, including theoretical projections from our most advanced partners." "Theories?" "Dr. Okafor believes it's transgalactic communication or transportation technology. The quantum signature suggests someone is attempting contact or passage between galaxies." Sullivan processed the implications. "Council response?" "That's the complication. The detection required our quantum sensor network, technology that still exceeds most Council capabilities. We're currently the only ones aware of this development." The weight of the situation settled on Sullivan's shoulders. Earth held information that could reshape cosmic civilization, but how they handled it would determine whether it led to unity or panic. Strategy Board recommendations? Divided. Half advocate immediate transparency with the Council. The other half want independent investigation first, ensuring we understand implications before potentially triggering galaxy-wide chaos. "There's another factor," Vasquez continued. "Grave Curzon has been attempting contact. Our intelligence suggests they may have detected something related through their networks. The mysterious information brokers still operated in the shadows, but their intelligence had proven invaluable during the Preservation Council crisis. I'll return immediately, maintain absolute security about the disturbance, but authorize Captain Chen to begin discreet reconnaissance, well outside detection range." "Understood. One final note. Preliminary analysis suggests the disturbance is approaching. Estimated arrival at Galactic Edge, 6 months." 3 days later, Sullivan met Curzon in their usual secure chamber aboard the diplomatic Accord. But something was different about the information broker's demeanor. An urgency he'd never detected before. "Ambassador Sullivan," Curzon's modulated voice carried unprecedented concern. "The galaxy faces a crossroads that will determine whether our civilization survives the next year. The transgalactic quantum disturbance, Sullivan stated, watching for reaction. A pause. Impressive. Your sensor network has achieved sophistication beyond most species' capabilities. Yes, the convergence pulse, though you lack crucial context, which you're prepared to provide? At considerable cost. Curzon's form shifted. What approaches is the Andromeda Collective, a civilization that achieved technological transcendence 50,000 years ago. They've been systematically contacting younger civilizations throughout their galaxy cluster, offering guided evolution. And the results? Varied. Some species embraced advancement and achieved remarkable heights. Others resisted and were reshaped. According to Andromeda specifications, many simply vanished from cosmic records. Sullivan's blood chilled. They're coming to guide our galaxy? The Convergence Pulse analyzes galactic civilizations, cataloging species and assessing technological levels. They're determining compatibility with their vision of proper development. And incompatible species face optimization, forced technological, biological, or social modifications until they comply with collective standards. It eliminates traits they consider inefficient or dangerous. Sullivan's mind raced. Timeline. Main expedition arrives within 6 months. Advanced scouts, facilitators, may arrive weeks earlier to establish contact with advanced species, offering privileged status in exchange for cooperation in managing lesser civilizations. The pattern was horrifyingly familiar. Divide and conquer on a galactic scale. Species always accept these offers? The Andromeda achieve cooperation from 60 to 70% of major powers within months. They're skilled at identifying civilizations that prioritize survival over collective resistance. Sullivan immediately thought of species that might be receptive, those with technological orientations or hierarchical mindsets that might align with Andromeda principles. Recommendations? Unity, Ambassador. Only civilizations achieving complete cooperation across all major species have successfully resisted optimization. No divided responses, no separate deals. You believe our galaxy capable of such unity? Curzon's laugh held no humor. The same galaxy where secret councils manipulated development for centuries, where integration of humanity nearly triggered intervention, where territorial disputes and rivalries persist? Sullivan saw opportunity where Curzon saw obstacles. Perhaps external threat could forge necessary unity. Perhaps. Or accelerate divisions as species scramble for survival. That depends on how the next months are handled. Why tell me this? What's your stake? For the first time, Curzon hesitated. Because I am not from this galaxy. I am a refugee from the Andromeda's previous optimization project. My people were among those who vanished from cosmic records. The revelation struck like lightning. Curzon wasn't just an information broker. They were a survivor of the approaching threat. What happened? We were deemed incompatible. Our consciousness operated through quantum-distributed networks that couldn't be modified to match their standards. Rather than expend resources on optimization, they deleted us from the galactic data stream. Our world's history, existence erased. Right. But you survived. I am the only one. A quantum ghost maintaining existence through information networks, powered by constant knowledge exchange. Not life as most understand it, but continuation. Sullivan felt his understanding of the broker fundamentally shift. You've been preparing for their return. For 50,000 years, gathering intelligence, establishing networks, analyzing methods. This galaxy represents my only opportunity for what you might call justice. And you believe humanity is key to resistance? Humanity possesses something the Andromeda rarely encounter. True adaptability combined with aggressive innovation. Most species they've faced are specialized or developmentally constrained. Humans learn, adapt, and incorporate elements faster than any civilization in recorded history. Curzon paused meaningfully. More importantly, humans unify diverse groups against common threats. Your history demonstrates repeatedly that irreconcilable enemies become allies when facing existential danger. What do you need from Earth? Time, initially. The Council must be informed, but carefully to avoid panic or fragmentation. Some species will consider accommodation, others will want to flee. A few might attempt preemptive strikes that only accelerate timelines. Eventually, this galaxy needs technologies and strategies the Andromeda haven't encountered. Technologies based on principles they can't predict or counter. You're discussing weapons. I'm discussing evolution. The collective perfected optimization based on known civilization patterns. Humanity represents something outside their models, a species capable of becoming whatever survival requires. Sullivan felt responsibility settling on his shoulders. Earth had established itself as a peaceful, cooperative community member. Now they might need to become something entirely different. I'll need everything you have on them. Assessments, records, analysis. Earth must understand exactly what we're facing. Already prepared. Curzon transmitted a massive data package. Remember, their greatest weapon isn't technology or resources. It's convincing civilizations that optimization is inevitable, resistance futile, cooperation the only rational choice. And you believe otherwise? I believe some things are worth preserving even at existence's cost. The question is whether your galaxy agrees. The emergency council session convened 24 hours later, filled with representatives whose anxiety was palpable through their various communication methods. High Counselor Omnis floated at the center, luminous form pulsing with authority and unmistakable concern. Representatives of the galactic community, we address information of unprecedented significance to our collective security, Omnis announced, causing ripples of alarm through the assembly. Sullivan stood at the central platform with Dr. Okafor and Admiral Marcus Kane,